Hello, guys. If you can hear me, I'm going to wait on Keith to get in here. He's going to be joining us. Let's see who's all here. Keith is here. Should be able to join. Let's see. All right. There we go. There he is.
Hello. So
Hello.
Reminder, we are live like right away.
Yes, I know. I'll give everybody a minute to get in here.
Awesome.
Let's see. Yeah, that was an interesting one. Thank you, Rack, for the sharp cover slide here. I told you it'd be nice when you showed me yours earlier.
It's awesome to see we have all the support from the community in general, and that the people here care enough to actually be here in the first place.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun day. It is 2:15, so we should go ahead and get started, and we can waste a couple minutes with our introduction, just in case people are straggling in here.
And the recording will be there anyway. So
yes, of course. So everybody, thank you for joining us. We are talking today about leadership development and developing your captains in a more specific sense than just general leadership. My name, let's see if I can make it happen over here, is Dalton Mcghiey. My contact information is here. So if at any point you want to get a hold of me after the conference, or if you're one of the people that's watching the VOD of this, you want to get a hold of me, all of this is here. I'm a science teacher. I teach honors anatomy at Lanphier High School. I started esports here in District 186 in Springfield 3 years ago. I'm a tournament organizer for IHSEA. This year I will be running Rocket League, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and Fortnite. Taking over some of Keith's old jobs there since he's moved on. And then I'm a Scholastic Fellow with NASIF. So I build curriculum that integrates esports into the general classroom. And the one I specifically made this year was an English language arts class that is all about leadership development and philanthropy through bettering your speaking skills and writing skills. And it's a really cool class that I was really proud of getting to work on. So this is my contact information. I put the Instagram here because I am that outlier that just doesn't use Twitter, at least on my personal account. I operate our team's Twitter, which is going to be shown later at the end of the slide. But personally, it's just not the place to get a hold of me, so I don't put it there. So Keith?
So, hi, I'm Keith Kennedy. I am formerly the director of esports at Glenwood High School and also taught math and computer science there for 3 years. I started our team in 2018, and I also participated as one of the directors of the IHSEA. I TO'd Smash, League of Legends, or Smash, Rocket League, League of Legends, and Valorant. And the reason you're taking over things because you wouldn't let me still keep TOing. Thank you.
You just need to move on with your life.
No. And then I'm also one of the directors, the director at Illinois Wesleyan University. And you can find me either on Twitter or Discord most frequently, although I have my email notifications on because I don't have that boundary. So I have a lot of experience with the captain IGL kind of side because of just smashing teams out and running out of time to coach myself. So I had to really trust captains a lot this past year.
Guys, if you have any questions at some point in our presentation, just because of ease of functionality, go ahead and just type the questions in the chat as opposed to the Q&A session. I think it's a little redundant to have it in practice. So if you have a question, type it there. We'll get to that as soon as we can. But we're going to get right into this. And the first thing I wanted to talk about when we were planning this out was what leadership development is all about. I love this quote. I went to a conference called Leadership in college, and it was really impactful on sort of my hidden curriculum as a teacher, wanting to make leadership a big part of the classroom, and then as an esports coach. And the words that always stuck out to me were guided by integrity with a healthy disregard for the impossible. And that's sort of what we want to instill in these kids, that idea that, especially in esports where so much is unknown and unwritten, you are doing new things every day. And so if you instill a desire to do that in the kids, who knows what they could accomplish. We're not going to put a ceiling on what can happen. We have a program like ours that started in a year just because we just refused to say it wouldn't happen. We just kind of faked it and pushed it, and then it happened. And so we want to give kids like the experience they can get and doing whatever they want and only stopping if it is absolutely necessary. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was that there are different types of leaders. The DISC personality profile is what we like to use on our team, and we have kids take it. It's a personality quiz, sort of like Myers-Briggs or others that you might have taken, but specifically as it relates to how they lead and how they interact with their leadership style and other people's leadership style. So the 4 that we can sort of group them into with this test is dominance, influence, steadiness, and conscientiousness. And it's just sort of, you can see for yourself here what those relate to, but it's just this idea that there's not one particularly correct type of leader. Everybody brings different strengths and weaknesses to the table, and integrating those together to get the most synergistic effect is how you make everyone a better leader. So if you're interested in this DISC personality profile or would like to use it with your team, just reach out to me at some point during the conference or later, and I can get you the resources to make that happen. I found it to be very helpful. And if anything, it's just one of those things that makes kids sort of label or sort of quantify in their head what their strengths or weaknesses are, and then they're more aware of it and can work on those and work with those. And so, Keith, I sort of wanted to put this at the bottom here to ask you, or if anybody wants to share some thoughts they have in chat as well. Do you think one of these is more important than the other in the esports world? And where are they good at on your team? If you look at these types of players, what do they do well?
I think my captains and how I molded them relied a lot on consistency and steadiness, because we had all this up and down of, they're teenagers. And so someone who can be that rock for a team really helps solidify a team's mentality and their mental state going into any match.
Yeah. And I think, too, you have to be careful with the dominance personality types as far as leadership goes for students when they're all the same age and each other's peers. You don't want that on top of everything, because that gets to be a little annoying if you're one of the other players. So, really fostering the different types of leaders, letting those with the dominant trait do their thing appropriately, letting others, particularly people that are the steady or conscientious type leaders, they tend to be quiet. And so how do you get them to speak up and match the level of the dominance type leader? Or how do you get the influence person to find what the others are good at? It's sort of that I'm not the smartest person in the room, but I know who is. And once you get them all aware of what they're good at, what they struggle with, how to use those strengths and weaknesses together to benefit the program the most, I sort of just wanted to get our brains thinking about, there's different kinds of leaders. They do different things, and they have different spots on our program that they could really thrive in. So I'm going to go ahead and move on and talk about something you are particularly good at fostering, which is in-game leaders.
So IGL, or in-game leader, is just a common term used in the industry for the guy who shot calls. Football, it's your quarterback, but in esports, it's the IGL. And IGLs aren't necessarily the only shot caller, but they're the primary shot caller. So to be an effective IGL and to really have someone who can serve the purpose they're supposed to, they have to have a lot of things. They can't just be one or the other. First and foremost, they have to have in-game knowledge. They don't have to be necessarily the expert on everything, but they have to know enough to be dangerous. For example, my Overwatch IGL, he was a support player. He didn't know DPS super in depth. He just asked our DPS, hey, what do you think's best here? But that goes into a communication aspect, where as long as they can effectively communicate and tell people things, they can work effectively as an IGL. But the hard part is being decisive. That's the really hard part of IGLing, is a lot of times, and you can attest this as well, Dalton, there's not really a perfectly correct move. There's just a least bad move. And you have to be able to determine that and decide upon it pretty fast. So that's pretty hard to find and develop unless they already have something akin to that naturally. Emotional maturity is a must. If you're leading a group, you have to be mature. Hands down. You very, very rarely want freshmen to be captains. simply because, or IGLs simply because no one will respect them as a freshman. If I have a freshman shot calling seniors, nobody's going to listen to him. So unfortunately, an age hierarchy has to exist in some way, unless that freshman is miles better than everyone.
Yeah, and I think to that point, there's also, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but there is a difference game to game what levels of these things are needed. You know, you just mentioned that freshman Fortnite, for example, is a game that skill talks, whereas Overwatch is a game where intelligence talks. And so it has different needs, and we'll talk about in a bit. But I think about Overwatch as an example here. You mentioned it doesn't have to be the damage player, the tank player, the support player. IHSEA wrote a 38-page thesis on goats.
Oh, I've read that book.
Right, and he in it he talked about should your soldier be the shot caller? Maybe. Lucio can if he sees something. Reinhardt can if he sees something. So really, it's just fostering these like intrinsic things. 70 pages, excuse me. I think I changed it to 38 because I made it Times Roman 12-point font because that's how I like to read things. That's what happened. So as long as these are there, what they do on the team is not extremely important. And so I just wanted to sort of reiterate that they just have to be the ones that want to help their team improve and have that humility and drive to never stop getting better. So.
And no one of these is more important than any others. But man, I really appreciate someone who's decisive. That still is pretty much high on the list on every shot caller I've ever had, is just making a decision. Doesn't have to be always right, just make a decision.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and jump to the next one, and let's really get into that. And at this point, this would be a good time if you guys have questions about a specific game you want a little more on, we can guide the conversation that way. But we'll talk generally about each of these. Keith and I split these up pretty well with our gaming experience. So I mentioned Overwatch. Overwatch has to have a captain when you're choosing in the tryout process that really understands the game. This can't just be the person who is an incredible Widowmaker and has a higher rank than everyone. This last year, the Overwatch captain I chose him because he's incredibly calm. He's extremely analytical. No matter how emotionally charged the moment was, if we were having to deal with a Whitney Young Rialto game or not, he was as calm or excited in any circumstance, no matter. And that was important when tensions get high, especially for teams that are competing at a really high level in that particular game and their team base. They need to have a voice of reason and calmness. So that is big for Overwatch, where so much talking is happening. And additionally, I mentioned the game sense. Only with real game sense will good decisions be made in Overwatch, because otherwise your ego will get in the way. And so if you're Reinhardt that can run it down and mess a team up, that's great. And you can say, let's go all you want. But are you really doing what's best for your team? Because while you may get those couple picks, while you may think I got two, that's reinforcing this is a good thing in my brain, how much resources from the rest of your team went into it? And so you have to have somebody that knows all three roles, knows a ton of hero knowledge, situational map knowledge. With Overwatch, I think as much of, if not more than any of these games, in my experience, you have to know everything about it to be the most effective captain and most effective shot caller. Keith, you want to mention Rocket League?
So Rocket League is a different end of the spectrum entirely, because there's really not a ton of game knowledge to be had. It's all micromechanics. But Rocket League, the shot caller is primarily the person calling the rotations and just talking about, hey, I want to play fast here. Hey, stall the team. Hey, you got two behind you. You have an open shot. Take it. It's a lot of very, very fast decision making, but the decisions aren't really that important because the game has its own flow and game state that just happens. And so it's a lot of corrections more than overall decisions.
So our list of things IGLs need, Rocket League, that decisiveness is way up because it has to be bang, 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 constantly saying something new and just not doubting it, going back after the fact and seeing, was it a good choice? But in the moment, don't ask questions.
It's like, hey, I missed this rotation, or I went for this boost and I shouldn't have, that kind of thing. But they have to be really reflective upon the previous 20 seconds of scrambling to then make the next kickoff effective. They have to do so much as a group with their teammates. They have to be really collaborative because it's such a small setting of 3v3. You have to be really collaborative and really play off your teammates. So decisiveness is really, really important. And being able to concisely say, I'm going for boost, you go for net. That kind of thing. There's not a lot of game knowledge involved, though.
I also think for Rocket League, because of the short nature and long series of the matches,
Mental fortitude.
more than almost all the other games, you need that strong mental. You need someone who can get stomped 10-0 in a match you should be winning and just say, you know what? It's game 2 now. We're done. And so I think mental fortitude is particularly important in Rocket League because it can be so quickly tilting.
And a habit I taught my guys is if we're getting shut out like 7-0 and it's like a minute left, okay, just mentally like override that game. It's gone. It's done. Start thinking of the next game and start already talking about the next game to basically extend your between map break time by just already talking about the next game.
Yeah. So again, these different games, all the things that were on our last list are good and needed for IGLs, but different games have different weights of those. Smash is next. And Smash is interesting compared to the others because it's the only one that is not a team atmosphere, really. I mean, even Fortnite, which is traditionally not as teamy as the others, it's trios. So Smash is not that. And so when you're choosing a Smash captain, you're thinking, okay, if they're not in a team environment, what can they do to impact their teammates in their own personal matches and seasons? And really the big thing there is strong VOD reviewers are really strong captains for Smash. This needs to be someone that can go in and objectively and critically say, I messed up and here's how. And it also needs to be somebody who I think the emotional intelligence is high on this list for Smash because they need to be able to tactfully say, you messed up and here's how. And so
and they have to want to help their teammates most of all.
Yes.
Because they will do nothing useful if they can't want that. If you have to force them to do it every time, it's not going to do much.
Yeah, this needs to be somebody that's invested in creating a team atmosphere in a non-team game. So they need to buy into that philosophy, and that's the way to have the healthy chemistry on the team. Otherwise, it is, oh, well, I'm just worrying about my problem. I'm like, that's great for your personal season, but you want a captain to be somebody who is looking out for the team as a whole. And with a non-team game, that's all about caring and genuinely being empathic for their teammates' seasons and successes and failures. League. So I step way back now.
So League requires an insane level of game knowledge for characters, items, map interactions, map state, game state, vision, zone control, wave state, what towers are down, macro and micro. You have to have all these things, and you have to know a ton of stuff. The problem is people who tend to know that tend to also not be vocal. So you essentially have to pick that one dude who is vocal and train him, which is a long time, or find someone with that game knowledge and just force them to talk more. The problem with that is the hard part of coaching or IGL in League is you have the entire map to worry about, all the macro sense, and then you also have to play the game yourself. If they're going to be a 6-man in the server to just talk, that would save so much hassle. But you can't do that. So generally, IGLs on most teams are either the mid laner because he has the most perspective in the game, roaming the most, or the support because he has the brain power free. He's not microing the entire game. Supports, I hate to say it, are a little bit less mechanically intensive. So they have
Yuumi is the hardest hero to play in the game.
Man, I'm on Reddit the entire time playing Yuumi. Okay. So the supports have to have the extra brain power to handle macro decisions. The problem with League is it's always a percentage call. In League, a lot of times talk about coin flips or Baron flips, and it's also you try to go for the most advantageous thing possible, 70-30, 80-20. A lot of times, though, your best call is 40-60. So you have to find the least bad option and just take it. But the hard part is then figuring out how it's going to go before it happens. So they have to have a lot of game knowledge and just stick with the call. And their teammates have to respect them because it's very easy to just go off and do your own thing for 10 seconds and ruin a macro plan because you did that.
Yeah. So Fortnite, again, I all of these games that we have coaching sessions where we're going to go more in depth about this a lot. But as far as captains go, Fortnite is kind of a special case. I got a chance to talk with David Yee, one of my former players who now attends University of Illinois, and he plays for Fortnite for the Illini. And I was talking to him about their captain structure, and it was interesting because they don't necessarily have a captain because there's so many trios, right? There's so many in our IHSEA season, you can have like 5 trios. So one captain would be a little odd to have because they're not playing with everybody else. So what they have is a coordinator, is what they call them. Someone that can say, what do you need? What do you need? What's your plan? Sort of just get everybody on the same mental. And then every trio has its own IGL. So unlike the other games, because this one's so much more fractured, it will need a lot of good IGLs. That could be the person that is the nicest one of that friend group, right? That could be the person that is the most decisive. It depends on the chemistry of that trio, because every trio is going to have a different chemistry, which is not something you have to worry about with the other games. So it's really just trusting your gut. And for all of these games, taking that list of what a good IGL or captain needs to have and understanding the needs of those types of players in that program in particular. We're going to say a lot today. We're going to say a lot this week over the course of the conference, and you should take what resonates and leave what doesn't, because that's what's going to be best for your program. Fortnite is that weird. You don't really have one team. You have 5 of them, and they're all doing their own thing, and maybe against each other. So you just need someone, if you're picking a coordinator or a captain, to fill that more traditional all-team role that is a good communicator and is going to make sure that everybody feels they're getting the support they need and will speak up to the coach or to the assistant coach, whoever the case might be, about what their players need. So it's really the strong advocate. And Fortnite, I think, more than any of the games, you'll struggle to be that coordinator if you are not one of the better players. Fortnite has a specific brand of toxicity, I like to call it, where if you're better than me, that's the only way I'm going to listen to you. Because if I'm better, why would I listen to what you're saying? And so you have to combat that by getting that strong emotional intelligence, getting that good communication, and just getting that relationship building and mutual respect, particularly when it comes to Fortnite or Smash, when it's so individual skill based. So let's wrap up with Valorant here.
Valorant, once again, game knowledge, but it's a lot more about snap decision making, because you have to, I lost 2 guys, let's go make a site hit right now. You have to make snap decision making and be able to take in a lot of information from your teammates to then use it to make decisions. But all of that snap decision making has to come a level of collaboration that is expected. Valorant especially, you are not the primary shot. Well, you're the primary shot caller, but there's always secondaries, because someone has more info than you on something. Somewhere in their zone, they notice some little habit, so they make decisions on their own. So Valorant especially have to be very, very able and willing to let people act independently within reason. So you have to be a little bit looser on the leash, unless you're calling a really rigid site hit. You have to be a little bit more loose on shot calling.
It's all about establishing trust, because unlike more than the other team games, Valorant can be very solo carry. And you can have someone that just 1v5s randomly, and it happens. So you have to trust each other and be willing to mess up, I think, too.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to say, I saw this, I went for it, it didn't work. It's okay, we're moving on. We learn from it, and not get tilted about a kid trying to make a big play within reason.
And then the best IGLs are also the ones who can reset their team's mental state for good and for bad after a round. Because with this round-based nature, if you win a huge round, everyone gets excited, yeah, well, let's go. And then they try to do something stupid in their overconfidence the next round, that throws the round. So you have to reset them. Or if you guys lose this round in awful fashion, you have to go, okay, that round sucked, let's go to the next one. So you have to really be that mental coach for your team.
So again, all these games have the same types of things you're looking for. It's just moving the levers for the needs of those students in that particular environment. So pause real quick. Does anybody have any questions before we move on to a couple more things regarding this captain finding and leadership development, about any game in particular? I know there's a 10-second delay here, but I wanted to make sure we had a pause here in the middle and didn't just talk their ears off for 45 minutes.
But I can do that. You
definitely can. Actually, you've got the 2 biggest loudmouths in the IHSEA right here.
Unfortunately.
Okay. Keith, you want to start talking a little bit about this first? What is the role of a captain? What is their actual job on the team?
Yeah, so captains are not IGLs, or not necessarily. They can be, but not necessarily. Captains are a person who's primarily, for me, the main contact for a team. I can't have all their phone numbers, because as a high school teacher, you shouldn't be texting students. And a lot of times they don't respond to Discord messages, they will respond to someone spam calling them. So my captains, the first thing they do is get the phone number of every player on your team. Because when someone's late to practice, you call them 8 times until they answer. My Overwatch team, exactly. Josh had to call Logan every single practice for about a year until Logan got the message. So primary contact, first of all. Second, they're kind of the hierarchy thing where if there's an interpersonal issue on the team that doesn't involve the captain, it's just between two players, you go to the captain first, and then the captain goes to me. Or in teams that have sub-coaches, you go to your games to the coach and then the director. You try to avoid issues elevating to you right away because you want students to learn those skills of handling and mitigating issues on their own. The whole goal of having a captain is to give them responsibility and let them use it. Not for bad, but to learn those skills. So they're not necessarily shot caller. They can be, not necessarily. In my case, they almost always were because the person who was most naturally leader-like was also the IGL.
And in my case, with Overwatch, for example, it was not. So our Overwatch captain was the quieter one, the methodical, analytical, watching the numbers kind of guy. And that was Fulcrum. And then Legat was our shot caller in game for the most part. Zionux was. All of them were loud. But like we said, those have different needs. The captain needs to be trusted, organized, communicative. IGLs need to be loud, decisive, smart. They overlap sometimes, but there's sometimes that they just won't. And it's okay to have different people. And you should make sure that if you have a scenario where a kid is saying, well, I'm the IGL, why'd you not pick me as captain for this team? You need to be able to say, well, this is what I'm looking for. This is why this choice was made. And even then, do you need a C on your jersey to make an impact?
Yeah.
No. So just tell them, like, you can still contribute and be a leader. We just needed to make a decision on making a point person that was for communication and organization and being kind to the freshmen and the babies coming up into the program.
And you have to really be cognizant and tell your players and establish that mindset that, yes, the IGL is not the captain. You have to establish that mindset, otherwise they'll treat it like that. Now, organization-wise, captain is also the first person I go to of, hey, let's make a practice this day. I do a thing called captain's practices, where there's only one of me as a coach. So what I do is I would have one coach practice a week, which was with me, and then one captain's practice a week, where the captain they go play games online with a focus. That's it. So we do captain's practices so that people can stay focused. And so that they can handle that. And part of that duty is mentoring new players. I would very commonly have my captains pop on over the JV guys and observe for a bit and give some feedback because, once again, I'm one person. I can't watch 5 perspectives at once. But if I have my captain who's usually pretty willing to teach someone, most of the time you got to mold that a little bit. You can just say, hey, can you go watch so-and-so and give them some helpful feedback? And if you coach them on what helpful feedback means, instead of saying, nah, you suck, and then leaving, that's going to like get you very far. Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and move on because we're kind of jumping to this naturally as it was anyway, which is when to pick captains. We're talking about what you need to find. And we just mentioned we mentioned earlier not to pick freshmen. Every program is going to be different. Some programs do all the tryouts at the beginning of the year like we do, and then you have a Valorant team that's going to wait 4 months before their season starts. And some programs do Overwatch and Rocket League first, and then they do Smash and League, and they do it separate. It depends. Logistically, we do it all at the beginning because we are ordering jerseys, and we want to put a C on the shoulder of the captains. So that's why we do it. It doesn't have to be done like that. So you'll figure out in any case when your tryout for that game is. That's when you'll figure out who the captain is going to be for that game. You want to prioritize that experienced person, that person you trust, and you need to have a timeline for when you're going to choose those captains. We have tryouts Monday through Saturday. We do a different game every day. Okay. On Sunday, we have set aside, we call callbacks because I come from theater. And so we might need to see more of you. We might not. It's not a cut. It's a callback. And we use that time to interview people we need to get to know. You can use that time for figuring out, are you the right fit for captain? I think you might be. I watched you play. You were smart. Let's have a conversation. I think when you're picking captains, and you need to have a set goal for when you're going to pick by, and you need to be willing to have that conversation because that responsibility is important. And it's something that if chosen wrong, which I have done, can really be detrimental to a team. I had a situation, it was not this last season, but the year before, where I chose our Fortnite captain. It's not who I should have chosen in retrospect. And he knows that, which is why I'm openly saying it. And I ended up realizing about 4 weeks into the season, this other person was better. What did I not do? I didn't have a strong date on when I was going to pick the captain by. I kind of whimsically did it toward the beginning of tryouts, and I didn't have that conversation. So I can't stress enough, pick them early, get to know them early, have a talk. That is the way you're going to find out who your captains need to be. I'm going to click here. Keith, I'll let you go ahead and talk a little bit more on this slide, specifically the first and third bullet points that we haven't got to cover as much.
So identifying captains. I'm very lucky that the high school space, my captain for Overwatch and Valorant for 3 years is going to be an officer in the military and was raised to be an officer. So he had that natural leader mindset by the time he got to me. So it was really nice to have that. And natural leaders, identifying them really comes down to someone who knows how to talk to someone in the right way, which means they're stern, but they're not rude about it. They're understanding to a degree. They have all these qualities that you'd look for in a leader that you would follow. And they're just younger than you. So natural leaders are really important to just find someone who's already naturally a leader.
I want to mention the respected by peers bullet point too, particularly as it relates to a game like Fortnite or Smash. It is important for all of them, but for those games, in my experience, it's extra important that the captains you're picking are willing to speak truth to power. And so I want to pick someone that if I am in the wrong, they will say it. They're not scared to step up. And particularly in the Fortnite and Smash community, I've seen that resonates very well with their team. When their team feels they're advocating for me, they're standing up to me. So, you think about when people are choosing their running mates or choosing their second in command for something, they want somebody that's not going to always agree with them. And I value that a lot. And I think that that's when we say trust among coaching staff. I want to be able to say, I believe you are going to make decisions that you truly believe are in the best interest for the team. We may not agree on everything, and those are when conversations will happen. But I also know that your peers respect that if you think I am wrong, you'll say that. And I think different people and different relationships will have different levels of comfort with that dynamic. But I tend to be a little combative. So I welcome, tell me, let's fight about it. Not really. Let's figure out what we disagree on. And I think that when you have the kids buy in because they trust that their captain is going to speak for them, then the team as a whole is more healthy because they're respected and you trust that even if they disagree with you, it's for a good reason. So, and
then also captains obviously have to be strong academically. If I have to bench my captain for grades, they probably shouldn't be a captain.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Emotional intelligence goes being a natural leader. Like, if you are mature, and generally the hard part for captains is you have to find someone who's mature beyond their grade, which is a bit of a needle in a haystack sometimes, but they will show themselves in tryouts.
Yeah.
If you do the tryouts right, they'll show themselves.
And you can put them in tough situations in tryouts. Our coaching staff is a little notorious for that, putting them in situations where they will fail, right? They won't win this. So our league team, for example, our league coach had them try out against a team of his friends from college that he played league with that were way better, and they got stomped. But what did that let us see? What are they going to do in that pressure situation? Who can talk? Who can manage that?
Frustration reactions too.
Yes. So that's a good strategy to figure out, okay, all things are good and we're excited at tryouts. What about when they're not good? You can create situations like that if possible. We got 13 minutes left in our session, so let's get here. We've had tryouts. We've seen our kids. We've talked to them. We've committed to picking a captain and we believe in them. What do we do from there? Well, this is not an esports specific problem. Okay. This is not even a traditional sports specific problem. This is a life skill that really matters. And it's why we wanted to give a whole session to this today, is that this leadership development we teach our kids on this esports teams is going to help them in life. Regardless of the circumstance. I could list them off and bore you guys. You get the point and you understand that because you're here. We want them to have that experience so that they are better suited as adults in this real world. And we want to give them that chance to lead, give them the weight they need to make decisions on behalf of their team, give them the comfort level that they feel they can speak to you and can speak just like directly to you if there's an issue, and let them do their thing to a certain extent. Some coaches are a little more hands-on, but I know, I've talked to Coach Terpstra with Naperville North and his Overwatch team. He's just not. He facilitates their leadership development, and you've seen the results they've been able to have up there. So it's whatever is most comfortable for you and your program, but give them the opportunity to make mistakes, because that's part of this learning process for them. They are going to do things well. They're going to do things really poorly, and you're going to need to mitigate that problem. But everyone's going to be that much better for that experience having happened. So we really just want to stress, let them lead, let them learn, give them the opportunity. They will surprise you. The biggest thing not the biggest thing, a big problem I have, both as a teacher and a coach, is when an adult comes into the situation and says, well, they're able to do this, right? Well, we don't know that unless we see. Kids have a remarkable ability to learn and to go above what is expected of them. So don't cut them off at, oh, you're only capable of this. Let them see what they can do. Maybe some kids are going to be here, some kids are going to be here. That's okay, but give them that opportunity. And especially if you're a coach who's also a teacher, you're trained to do this. You know how to do this. You know how to take care of these personal relationships between kids and between you and them. And just trust your training and trust your gut, because you know what you're doing.
And there's this educational concept called productive struggle. And that's what we have to use to mold leaders, is productive struggle, where they have to just sink or swim sometimes. You have to be mindful and step in when it goes too far, but you have to let them work independently. Otherwise, they will never develop.
Yeah. So that's what we talked about. We put our information up here. If you guys want to get a hold of us after this conference, excuse me, I ran out of Coke and now my throat's getting dry. There's 10 minutes left in our session, which we wanted to give to just have a conversation, sort of a more casual thing. If you guys have a specific experience you wanted to ask us about, if you had a more specific point within this that you wanted to get some more chatting on, you can put that in chat as well. But we just wanted to give a buffer here at the end to not have to rush to the next session and to talk to you guys more personally if there are any questions you have that would help your program specifically. I know there's a delay, so what are we going to talk about for 15 seconds, Keith?
So how was your day?
It's been a wonderful day. Yeah, it's been fantastic. See the new apartment. Love it. Good. 15 seconds has passed. So, yeah, we're going to be here. I think what would probably be best for anyone, if you wanted to do it, is we could stick around. And if you have no questions and you got what you could out of this, like I said, take what resonates with you, leave what doesn't. And you can go ahead and get out of here. I encourage you guys to use that networking feature on the left side of Hopin. I did it earlier before our 1:30 session and met a couple of awesome people that I didn't know or had talked to through Discord, but didn't have a face associated with them. So use that networking feature on your breaks today. I appreciate you being here. I know Coach Kennedy appreciates you coming here. We both had some good success with our programs and just wanted to sort of share what worked for us and leave the rest.
I know it's always fun in esports to finally put faces to names.
Yeah,
it's because you talk so on Discord for so long, and then you finally go, "Oh, you're that guy," and start like putting two and two together.
Yep. Yeah,
so guys, if you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise,
we'll stick around for a few minutes here, and that's the end of our presentation. Everybody, thanks for coming. So, yes, it's funny seeing former Glenwood on everything during this conference.
I can't fix that, man.
X says, congrats, Coach Kennedy, on your new position.
Thank you, Ek.
Have you got to go to Anjou yet?
I have not.
You need to go to Anjou.
What is that?
We haven't. I've talked to you about Anjou Above. Any of the Bloomington people in here are going to know. Anjou Above is the restaurant. It is the best restaurant. It's pizza and sushi.
Wait, this is near me.
Yes, it's right by you. I drive all the way there on my birthday every year because I want to go.
Wait, it's right next to me. Jeez.
Yeah, we're going to go to Anjou.
Okay, well.
Coach Rakowskis, if he's still in here, he'll know. He's not still in here, I don't think. Oh, is he?
Something I love is some of like the best like Chinese food is just near is in like some hole in the wall restaurant in like random place.
Oh, we have a Go Birds in chat. Fighting words for there we go. The green weenies.
The problem is I play both sides of this.
Yes.
Because I went to Illinois State and I currently work at IWU.
You got to do what you got to do.
Hey, I love IWU. I'm very thankful I get to work there. It's an awesome place. I just have to sort it out sometime.
Yeah.
Andrew above, I will look at this place.
So the story behind Anju, if anybody wants a quick 30-second story, is I was on a date. We didn't know where to go. I wanted pizza. They wanted sushi. So as a joke, I Googled pizza and sushi restaurant, and Anju popped up. And they have two kitchens. One is their wood fire pizza kitchen. One's their sushi kitchen. And they race to get your food out when you order. And it's all awesome. It's small bites. It's all locally grown. It's extremely cheap because they don't have to they don't have to spend the money to import all the stuff. And they also have a wonderful adult beverage menu. And so it's just a great place to go. It's very social, communal, like, oh, your plate looks good. Let me take a piece of sushi, like that kind of restaurant. And it's just a lot of fun. So I'll have to go there sometime as a staff. Ken Dog will win Collegiate Director of the Year, probably.
I hate that Logan's told you that phrase already. Ken Dog is spread. So
yeah,
fast.
We're gonna probably never stop calling you Ken Dog now that I've seen that.
I mean, there's worse ones. You saw my Twitter post, didn't you?
Yes,
No.
I think so. Oh, yes, I remember that. Yep.
Oh God, I made the mistake of telling the IMU players some nicknames, and now they can't stop.
Bad.
I made a series of mistakes.
Yeah, I don't tell any of my capitals my nicknames from high school. It would just not be a good thing. So we don't do that. All right, it's 2:55. I think if you guys have any questions, let us know after the fact. But we're probably going to get out of here. Go to networking, meet some people, and we'll be back for our closing session at 3:15 about diversity and inclusion. It's going to be awesome.
Okay, see you guys.